streaming service.
Right.
And then I went to check Facebook and I didn't see anything.
Oh.
And then on YouTube, it says that this study starts in 2 hours.
Oh, no.
Oh, wait. It's from YouTube. Oh, we're live. We're live on YouTube.
We're live on YouTube.
Yes, we are.
That's bizarre.
Is
All
that
right.
just now or was it from the beginning?
If we are live on Facebook.
We're also live on Facebook.
Okay, great.
Okay, great. Well, I hope everyone enjoyed that. Now we can get back to business here.
All right. I will text one of our moderators to let her know. Okay. All right. So, everyone who is watching and who will be watching later, Uhuru, welcome to the Reparations Study Group. My name is Jackson Hollingsworth, a proud member of the Uhuru Solidarity Movement. And today we are joined by Penny Hess, who is the chairwoman of the African People's Solidarity Committee, the cadre organization of white people under the leadership of the African People's Socialist Party. Uhuru, Chairwoman Penny.
Uhuru Jackson.
Uhuru. And also joined by our co-host, Jesse Neville, the national chair of the Uhuru Solidarity Movement, which is the mass organization under the direct leadership of the African People's Solidarity Committee and overall of the African People's Social Party. Uhuru, Chair Jesse.
Uhuru.
Uhuru.
Uhuru Jesse.
Uhuru, Chairwoman Penny. Uhuru Jackson. Uhuru, everybody who's watching.
Wonderful. So the Uhuru Solidarity Movement, of course, we are under the leadership of the African People's Socialist Party, and we organize in the white community for reparations. So, our 3 principles of unity, that we're under the leadership of the party, we organize in the white community for reparations, and 3, that we recognize that African people have the right to self-determination. And so if you agree with those 3 points, you can become a member at uhurusolidarity.org/join. I encourage you to do that, and please share this video far and wide so that we have a real group study and really get to the political issues at hand. So we are studying the Burning Spear newspaper, which is the news organ of the African People's Socialist Party from the perspective of African internationalism, the political theory of the African working class, the Black working class, for their total unification and liberation, which will liberate everyone. So I want to begin by giving a huge salute to our leadership, Chairman Omali Yeshitela, the chairman of the African People's Socialist Party USA and the chairman of the African Socialist International. If you have your Burning Spear newspaper, you can indicate in any edition, and you can see the National Central Committee of the African People's Socialist Party with Chairman Omali Yeshitela front and center. So I want to give a big salute to Chairman Omali Yeshitela, whose recent book is Vanguard, the Advanced Attachment of the African Revolution. I encourage everyone to get your copy at Burning Spear Marketplace. Our moderators are putting that in the comments shortly. It really sums up this political period and the strategy for moving forward and takes on the real political questions of this time. So I encourage you to check that out. Also want to salute Deputy Chair Onezime Yeshitela, who leads all of the economic work under the African People's Socialist Party and is the architect of the Black Power Blueprint. We'll be really discussing those in today's article and today's study. And also salute Achille Anayi, who is the Director of Agitation and Propaganda of the African People's Socialist Party. And that means that she is also the editor-in-chief of the Burning Spear newspaper, which we are studying. So before we go into our study, I want to open it up to our guest, Chairwoman Penny, and also Chair Jesse after your thoughts that you would like to share right now.
Uhuru Jackson, Uhuru Chair Jesse of USM, and I really want to salute everybody who's watching this really important study that is led every week by the Uhuru Solidarity Movement, just doing a great job. Really want to salute you, Comrade Jackson, for just bringing so much life and dynamism to this incredible process of bringing the point of view, the worldview of the African working class into the pedestal, the white community, the colonizer nation. And I want to join in saluting Chairman Omali Yeshitela, who is our leadership, who formed the African People's Solidarity Committee, which exists and works on the pedestal of the oppression on the backs of African people and the oppressed and colonized peoples of the planet Earth. And just the incredible work of Chairman Omali Yeshitela, the theory of African internationalism, and that Chairman and the African People's Socialist Party, the National Central Committee of the party, is our direct leadership in the African People's Solidarity Committee, the white organization of the party, with a strategic purpose to go into the belly of the beast and extend the strategy of the African Revolution onto the pedestal. And of course, I want to salute Deputy Chair Onizine Yeshitela, under whose office so many of us work for the struggle for white reparations to African people. I want to salute Director Akile Anai, who is the editor of The Burning Spear. And I just want to say that, you know, I was at the founding convention or conference held by the African People's Socialist Party to form the African People's Solidarity Committee that was held in St. Petersburg, Florida, back in 1976. And one of the things that the party did is they gave each person who came, each potential solidarity movement member, a big stack of the Burning Spears going all the way back to 1968 when the party first formed. So it was 8 years of the Burning Spear newspaper. And I kept those spears, and I, you know, every night I read one of the Burning Spears for however long that took. And it was a profound influence on my development and political understandings as a white person joining this new organization of white people under the leadership of the African Revolution. So, you know, I just salute the Burning Spear. And if we have nothing else, no other books or anything else, we have this Burning Spear. There's no reason why we don't have it. So, you know, it's an incredible tool for winning white people, for white people to be able to see even the choice of articles, you know, just the choice of articles, seeing the range of information that spans the African working class all around the world, and, you know, to see what are the priorities and issues that affect and dominate the lives of colonized African people everywhere. But I wanted to say that, you know, as we can see, we are in what the chairman calls the uneasy equilibrium, tipping onto the side of the African working class and oppressed and colonized peoples. We're in this deepening crisis that the front right now is this coronavirus epidemic, which has us in St. Louis, where I am located, and really people all over this planet locked down to attempt to stem the tide of this very serious virus. And, you know, we see a situation in the United States where the question of the economy, of the influx of resources into the US parasitic capitalist economy takes the priority over the unity of the entire population to put the conditions of the masses of the people in the forefront. This is about the money, and the people come second. And certainly, you know, the conditions of the African working class are very serious. And just as in any other crisis that we've ever seen, from Hurricane Katrina in New Orleans 15 years ago to the earthquake in Haiti 10 years ago, when 300,000 African people were unnecessarily killed because of colonial poverty and conditions, that this is another crisis that African people face every single day under colonialism. And today, well, actually tomorrow, the US government, the Congress is planning to pass this big stimulus bill, this $2 trillion stimulus bill. And they're supposedly giving, broadening the ability of working people, even in the so-called gig economy, who otherwise would not have qualified, to get expanded unemployment benefits. And they're sending supposedly $1,200 checks to everyone. Now, I just want to say that what this was and has been is simply an excuse to go ahead and put the majority of that money and other things that the US government has already given recently to the US economy, to the corporations. And as Chairman Omali Shatella has pointed out, giving people a little $1,200 is actually giving it to the corporations, because they're expecting that you're going to spend this money and you're going to put the big corporations, you're going to keep them back in business. So it's really putting it, it's for their benefit. There's not free testing for the African community. There's nothing that's really benefiting the African community, and reparations are due. And the US government needs to, be able to meet the needs of the people, which it is not doing. So, I saw today in the New York Times a picture of the fact that in New York City, which is right now the epicenter inside the United States, where 13 people died at a hospital in one day in the area around New York, there was a picture of probably several hundred people, you couldn't even see them all, waiting in cordoned off lines around the block on a cold, rainy day in New York, with probably people waiting with fevers, bad coughs, waiting for who knows how long to get into the hospital. This was the cordoned off lines to get into the hospital in Queens. And, it shows you the depth of this crisis, and living in a society that is not about solving the problems to put the interest of the people, and certainly not the African working class or indigenous and Mexican colonized peoples at heart at all. But the thing that's been really critical in this is the leadership of the African People's Socialist Party in what's called the People's War Campaign. And it is really powerful. It is the African working class organized to take government, to lead as the people's government. It is the only response that is by and for the African working class, and therefore all people who want to experience socialism in this world, who want to destroy US imperialism and parasitic capitalism, who want to be under the leadership of the leading revolutionary force in this country and in this world, so that People's War Campaign, we also, as white people, have a role to play in it. We have a role to play in solidarity, and to be out there winning reparations, which is the return of the stolen wealth and the redistribution of the wealth of the world into the hands of the revolutionary African working class. And this is really powerful. So the party's been out there laying out what the people have to do, talking to the African community, been online almost every single day for the last 2 weeks in one form of the movement, one front of the movement or another, and also out there putting up posters in the community, informational posters, giving out and dropping brochures produced by the All African Peoples Development and Empowerment Project, APDEP, that lets the people know how to take care of themselves, tips and protocols for being safe and healthy. So we're seeing the political power, the self-government of African people unfolding as it has in so many ways. I just want to say quickly that the party's institutions of the African working class economy, such as Uhuru Furniture and Collectibles, Uhuru Foods and Pies, many of these institutions and the Black Power Blueprint have been hit by the shutdowns and economically hit, having to be temporarily closed. But the outpouring of support from the base of these institutions has been overwhelming and really powerful. And many white people want to take a stand of reparations and contribute to this. So, you know, I really want to call on people to go to blackpowerblueprint.org and contribute so that the Black Power Blueprint and all the institutions of the party can just move forward with the dynamism that it has. So, you know, I want to salute the Uhuru Solidarity Movement, fighting for against the moneyed sector of imperialism, of white power, demanding reparations from all of these thieves, these criminals who are getting the bulk of the trillions of dollars that the US government is pumping into their pockets every single day. And to really, you know, call on everybody who's watching to sign up for, excuse me, and register for the Uhuru Solidarity Movement Convention, which is coming up April 18th and 19th. So, you know, I also wanted to say, as we can see and hear, all the work that we're taking on right now is something that Chairman Omali Yeshitela had already laid out in the political report to the party's plenary of 2020, which took place in January or in February. And as you can see, because we will address some of that, and that the party has done, you know, laid this out. And Chairman Omali Yeshitela has laid out our work for a few years now through the party's congresses. So what we're doing now is nothing new, but this is an opportunity to carry out our mandates, to do what we have to do to build a massive movement of white people for reparations to African people. And I'm very, very, very excited about, you know, just this period, because this is a period in which the African People's Socialist Party is winning. It is fighting, it is winning, and it is moving closer every single day to the total liberation of Africa and African people everywhere. So, yeah, go ahead. Go ahead, Kamal.
Sorry, go ahead, Chair Penny.
No, well, I was just going to begin reading, but you can say what you were going to say.
Of course. Well, I just really want to appreciate that overview, Chairwoman Penny, you know, really laying out, you know, why this is so critical at this point in history, you know, with the COVID-19 and the political implications of that, and how this is not the time to, you know, sit back. We have to take action. So I appreciate that, and I encourage everyone, as you said, to donate at blackpowerblueprint.org. And Chairwoman Penny will be speaking at the Uhuru Solidarity Movement's National Convention called Reparations Uprising. And I encourage everyone to register for at uhurusolidarity.org/convention. And also to purchase Chairwoman Penny's book, Overturning the Culture of Violence, which can be found at Burning Spear Marketplace. So, Uhuru, Chair Jesse, is there anything you would like to add?
Sorry,
Oh, you're on mute. Okay.
Oh, Uhuru, I don't have much to add except to really appreciate that profound overview from Chairwoman Penny Hess and really echo the call for people everywhere to register for our national conference on reparations to African people that's happening on April 18th and 19th through Zoom webinar. So you register, you'll get the login info, you'll be able to be in a conference online with Chairman Omali Yeshitela, with Chairwoman Penny Hess, with Deputy Chair Onanzane Yeshitela, and so many other amazing leaders of the African People's Socialist Party, the African People's Solidarity Committee, and the Uhuru movement. So uhurusolidarity.org/register is where you go. And we definitely want to see hundreds of people we want to basically go to Zoom's capacity for how many people we can have on the webinar that day. So go ahead and register and join the struggle to demand reparations from the moneyed sector of parasitic capitalism.
Uhuru.
Wonderful. So we'll be reading. So this is the cover article of the March Spear Party's first 7th Congress plenary called on us to vanguard up. We are building the regional hub strategy, but we are skipping to page 13, where we'll be reading the section of this very long article that I encourage everyone to read all of. But we'll be reading the Midwest region section, and Chairwoman Penny will begin. Uhuru.
Uhuru. Okay. So this is from Chairman O'Malley Chatella's political report to the 2020 plenary of the party, where everybody from the party came together to check up on the mandates that were put out and the resolutions from the party's 7th Congress that was held in 2018, in October 2018 in St. Louis. So it was very, very amazing event. And so I'm just going to read this section here called the Midwest region, page 13, sorry. And it's saying that most of the party's forces in the Midwest region are located in St. Louis, Missouri, site of our 7th Congress. The African community of North St. Louis is home to our most dynamic economic development work and our most recent Uhuru House. Our work in St. Louis grew out of the party's intervention in August 2014, following the rebellion of the working class area of Canfield Drive in Ferguson in response to the police murder and desecration of the body of 18-year-old Mike Brown. Although the rebellion was hijacked by the colonial bourgeoisie with the aid of the African petty bourgeoisie and aspirants who undermined the anti-colonial character of the uprising, the party was able to carry out responsibility and create anti-colonial organization. Not only were we able to organize in PDM in St. Louis, we also recruited and trained, that's the International People's Democratic Uhuru Movement's current president from among the African working class, brought to political life with the August 9th, 2014 rebellion. St. Louis, now its headquarters and in PDM, has acquired its office in St. Louis. These are major accomplishments. Much of our work in St. Louis, the Midwest region, and the world revolves in part around the Black Power blueprint, which is something that is unique in this planet, because it is the only thing that is not charity. It is not something that is reforming imperialism. It is political and economic power in the hands of the African working class. So the Black Power Blueprint is a major economic development project that encompasses the entire African community, setting examples for and influencing African anti-colonial aspirations globally. This work also gives practical meaning to the reparations demand of the party and is a clear example of how reparations work can be actualized among the masses of the people, the colonizer and the colonized alike. So yeah, the Black Power Blueprint, and if you haven't been to blackpowerblueprint.org, there's an incredible website there with galleries of pictures, photographs, the story, the narrative, the videos, to show the significance of this and what it means for these projects of the African working class and the effect and impact that this has had on the African community of North St. Louis and of the world, as the chairman is saying. So the chairman is saying, in PDM's presence in the Midwest is actively exposing the contradictions of neocolonialism in St. Louis in particular. There are many. Our people are under open assault on a daily basis on every front of life. And I would just add that St. Louis has a very stark and raw conditions of what's called the Del Mar Divide, the Del Mar Avenue Boulevard Divide, which is a dividing line between mansions, gated communities, very, very upper class, and you cross Del Mar Boulevard, and within a block, you are seeing the very stark conditions faced by the African working class there. And this Del Mar Divide is what characterizes St. Louis. It's something that exists in every city, but it's very visible here. And, you know, this is the conditions of the African working class here. They're facing gentrification, being put out by massive white developers who are making billions of dollars at the expense of the especially North Side African community, attempting to push all African people out of the North Side and make it into a white community, a very upscale white community. There's a lot more to say about that, but this is the struggle. And in the newspaper every day are articles that attack the integrity and the dignity, that attempt to attack the integrity and dignity of the African working class in this city. It is a barrage, an incessant barrage against the people, never ever raising the incredible conditions of poverty and political oppression that exist here in a community in which, after taxes, the African working class families live on about $5 a day each. So it is very stark here in St. Louis. The Uhuru movement provides, excuse me, let me find my place again. Uhuru movement provides the only political pushback in the defense and interests of the overall African population, and especially the African working class, where the colonial contradictions are most concentrated. In addition to the population removal that weaponizes a city-owned land bank that hoards thousands of vacant homes and properties, the African community has to contend with the consequences of imposed poverty. This includes joblessness, food insecurity, intense competition for resources resulting in calamitous horizontal violence, and general community destabilization. Together, this is recognized as the classic strategy of counterinsurgency, population and resource control. The St. Louis political class is characterized by often publicized corruption that has led to wrist-slapping imprisonment of select government officials. Government officials who have run afoul of some contending sector of the colonial bourgeoisie. Central to the corruption and the direction of the general political activity is the intent of the rulers to turn the majority African St. Louis into a majority white city. This has led to an ongoing media propaganda assault on the African community. Every instance of intra-colonial horizontal violence is gleefully reported on as further evidence of a violence-prone community that needs to be contained for its own good. At least one neo-colonial North St. Louis alderman with close ties to at least one of the big developers has gone so far as to call for bringing in the US National Guard to control the people. Although it is unlikely that the alderman actually expected the National Guard would be deployed to his ward, his public call for the Guard served to contribute to an atmosphere designed to facilitate the removal of Africans from the city. With help from the colonial media, even Africans are being made afraid to remain in North St. Louis community where the very real dangers are exaggerated. The war on the community contributes to the transfer of hundreds of acres of North St. Louis land to agencies for use by the US federal government to establish a massive new National Geospatial Intelligence Agency, NGA headquarters. A combined force of big realtors, colonialist-defined developers, financial institutions, and local and federal office holders have coalesced to bring about the compulsory removal of scores of families through the power of eminent domain. At the same time, a move is being consolidated by the city government to liquidate the potential for any achievement of genuine Black power, Black political power. A measure to reduce the number of city wards to 14 from the existing 28 is expected to go into force in 2021. Moves also are being made by local politicians to amend an ordinance to allow workers to be fired from outside, to be hired from outside the city in order to bring in police from neighboring municipalities. The excuse being an inability to hire police from the heavily unemployed African community. Impedum has launched the only fight back against this counterinsurgent assault that also employs African neo-colonial office holders. The Uhuru Movement's Keep 28 campaign, along with demonstrations and organizing work against the NGA spy agency, regular public community meetings and petition gathering to win community support for our efforts while expanding our economic development work is the essential anti-colonial work in the US. Uhuru.
Uhuru. Chair Jesse.
Uhuru. All right, so we're jumping ahead a little bit, right? To the part that I'm reading.
I think you should continue where it says the plenary is about the unity of theory and practice.
Okay.
That's the next part, yeah.
All right. Sorry.
It's right after where I just ended. Yeah. Sorry.
That's all right. I'm looking at it on my computer, so I'm having a little.
Oh, okay. It's right after anti-colonial work in the US.
I got it. Okay.
Okay.
Plenary is about the unity of theory and practice. Neither theory nor practice. Whoops. Okay. Neither theory nor practice alone is enough. Theory without practice is meaningless, useless, and practice without theory is blind. To make revolution, we must have both, each complementing the other. Now, nor is it enough to bemoan the evidence of imperialist rapacity infesting the world and impressing upon Africa and Africans intolerable conditions. This is what colonial capitalism does. This is how it came into existence. But in so doing, capitalism has built into itself the very contradictions that will cause its destruction. African internationalism is a theory that predicts the defeat of colonial capitalism. The US presents us with one of the ways that the colonial capitalist ruling class manipulates economic forces through its myriad of financial institutions to the detriment of our people and to the advancement of the ruling class and others that include the colonial petty bourgeoisie. Gentrification is the massive displacement of African people from our communities, part of the counterinsurgent tradition of resource and population control that keeps our communities constantly off balance and off point. Gentrification can and must be countered. State Assemblyman Charles Barron, a dedicated patriotic African elected official in New York City, has stymied this effort of population removal in East New York by establishing policies resulting in his district gaining African inhabitants and keeping housing costs within an affordable range for many working class Africans, which especially in the context of the rampant gentrification in New York is quite a remarkable achievement. Our party is taking this on in North St. Louis. We have initiated a project of land reclamation and development that is consistent with the history of our party's struggle for self-reliance and self-determination, but with a much more focused and concentrated effort. And for anyone who might be just tuning in now, we're reading from the burning spear from the piece by
March.
Chairman Amalia Shatella. Called the Black Power Blueprint, our campaign has already resulted in a trajectory in North St. Louis that has anti-colonial implications for every community within the US and elsewhere. There are lessons here for everyone, and we are seeing an amazing transformation taking place before our eyes. Long demoralized, the impoverished, dilapidated African communities surrounding the busy thoroughfare of West Florissant at Alice Avenue, where the Uhuru House and the outdoor event space are located, are coming to life. The 50-foot flagpole holding the 20-foot red, black, and green flag has visibly brought pride to the community. African people bring their families to see and photograph the beautiful flag waving in the wind. The Black Power Blueprint has begun to change the material conditions within the colony, creating a general outlook that raises reasonable expectations for a safe and prosperous life in our own Black working class community. Wow, that is very moving. Moreover, this is not something done for the community by the government or any neo-colonial elected official, but in spite of them. The Office of the Deputy Chair and the International People's Democratic Uhuru Movement are building a growing base of supporters from the neighborhood. One popular cultural worker who lives on Alice Ave testified at a Sunday rally that his family made the decision to remain in their home rather than move because of the Black Power Blueprint that is a vibrant symbol of African economic and cultural development. He said that he sees the change in the neighborhood and noted that young Africans that he used to see on the street corners are now employed by Africans fixing up their homes. One young African businessman from down the street has joined the Black Power Blueprint Committee, led by Ticharwa Masimba, the Economic Development Director of the Office of the Deputy Chair. He says he is now inspired to invest in commercial property and build businesses in this neighborhood. There is Mr. Gary Brooks next door to the event space, who has played a leading role in creating the garden, and the preacher from the church next to Mr. Brooks, who offered his empty lots for parking when big events take place. There is Sister Helen, a pastor who speaks once a month at Impedim's faith-based Sunday rally. There is the excellent coverage from Channel 4, which interviewed Ticharwa on the significance of the Black Power Blueprint and showed footage of the construction that was underway. There is Impedim's door knocking on College Avenue in West Florissant, on the block where the Black Power Blueprint's African Independence Workforce Housing is located, next to a now empty lot that we have targeted for an outdoor basketball court. On an impoverished block, our comrades got signatures on petitions and testimonials from community members saying that they too consider themselves Uhuru. The Midwest region also encompasses members in Chicago, a city of outstanding resistance because of its history, a city of outstanding significance because of its history of resistance, national demographics, and ever-ripening, glaring political and social colonial contradictions. Our work in St. Louis has provided the party with the ability to appoint a new regional representative following the practical disunity that forced the resignation of the person elected to the post at our 7th Congress. Comrade Malika Zaire Alexander, our newly appointed Midwest regional leader, appears to be establishing the template for building our regional hubs. She has developed a plan of action that encompasses the presence of Impedum, the Solidarity Movement, and the party. Comrade Malika has also struggled to make the regional committee a real and functioning component of our organizational structure. Her approach to implementing the regional strategy will help to establish the template for building and developing our regional party work and structure. Uhuru.
Uhuru.
Uhuru. Thank you so much, Chairwoman Penny and Chair Jesse, for reading today's article. Of course, it's not the entirety of the article, and I encourage everyone to get your copy of the March Bernie Spear newspaper in order to read the entirety of it. It sums up all of the regions of the US and also goes into what's happening internationally with the Uhuru movement. So we just read, one part of it, the Midwest region, and just really want to appreciate Chairwoman Penny and Chair Jesse for reading that. And if you were moved by this, please donate at blackpowerblueprint.org and comment if you have, so that we can give you a big shout out and appreciation. We only have a few minutes, so if you have, we're having to close out a little bit early today. So if you have a question or comment, please post it below. I want to appreciate Leah Fifield, who's tuning in from Minneapolis.
Uhuru.
Yeah.
Louis, Renee from Philadelphia, Santos from Pittsburgh, Florida, and Tana Goldberg-Gandini from St. Petersburg, Florida, Virginia Wilson from Louisville, Kentucky. And Virginia said, I'm having difficulty finding it, but she really, Chairwoman Penny's book is amazing, a must read for everyone. And Kyle Lease is tuning in from St. Petersburg, Florida, and many others as well. And I also encourage everyone to register for our national convention where Chairwoman Penny will be speaking and Jesse at uhurusolidarity.org/convention for more info, or just to go register at uhurusolidarity.org/register. So this is a very incredibly powerful article, and there's a lot to say, and we only have a few minutes. So I want to, open it up to Penny, to Jesse, your comments on this, and just how, these institutions, we've seen, the significance of them in this article, and there's much more to say about them as well. But with, the coronavirus, COVID-19, and the different stay-at-home orders being called for, and the economy being affected, of course, it really, as Tony summed up in the beginning, all of these institutions had to temporarily close down and are missing out on those resources. So donate at blackpowerblueprint.org, and what over at Chairwoman Penny, anything you would like to say on this?
Uhuru, comrades, you're breaking up a little bit. I couldn't exactly. Can you hear me?
Can you hear me?
I can't understand. You're breaking up, Jackson. But
Uhuru, Chairwoman Penny, what are your? Yes, I can hear you.
Okay. All right. Well, I know we have to close out, but I just really want to salute this, and and just to say that, of course, as it is clear, the chairman is talking about the importance of building each region, within the country, within the U.S., and the same regional strategy, or a regional strategy, is being implemented by the African People's Socialist Party in Europe and on the continent of Africa, which is very, very exciting, and how dynamic it is for this building of the party, and basically of the secondary leadership, of the important leadership in each region, to be able to implement the mandates and just build the party everywhere. It's very, very powerful. It's not a new strategy, but it's a strategy that is being very, very much implemented by the whole party and by the African People's Solidarity Committee in this period. So I think it's just very, very powerful to see. Uhuru.
Uhuru, thank you, Chairwoman Penny. Chair Jesse.
Uhuru, yes, I just really appreciate this entire piece and want to salute the chairman's amazing leadership. And I know we do have to close out, so I won't add too much, but I just want to appreciate Chairwoman Penny for being on with us. And I want to let people know that this Saturday at 5 p.m. Eastern Standard Time, 4 p.m. Central, 2 p.m. Pacific, if I'm doing my math correctly, on Uhuru Solidarity Movement's YouTube and Facebook, we will be going live with the Reparations Report with Chairwoman Penny Hess and myself on the theme of "Don't die for Wall Street, pay reparations to African people." So if you are upset about the US government wanting to basically put the economy before the lives of human beings, then join us in condemning the root of this social system, which is the enslavement and dehumanization and violence against billions of African and other colonized human beings from its inception. So reparations is the way forward, and I want to encourage people to join us. That's going to be a really important discussion on everything that's happening in the world right now, summed up from the African internationalist point of view of Chairman Amali Shatella for the white community, in order for us to stand in solidarity with reparations and African liberation.
Uhuru, thank you to Jesse. And there's a number of other announcements that our moderators are putting in the comments. We do have to close out. Tune in next time on a Reparations Study Group. Director Akile Anayi of the African People's Socialist Party's Department of Agitation and Propaganda will be our guest speaker, so you don't want to miss that. Appreciate our guests. And Uhuru.
Uhuru.
Uhuru.